Welcome to the Driven Agenda podcast, where raw journeys drive ambition and reveal the fuel behind people's success. I'm Shannon Sagan, a personal injury lawyer, entrepreneur, and founder of the Dashcam Lawyer. This podcast is all about being driven, focused, motivated, and determined to reach your goals and setting an agenda that pushes you forward. We bring you insights from top players in business, sports, real estate, investing, health, and more. Here, we dive into what it really takes to thrive with candid conversations that cut through the noise and get to the heart of people's success. Okay. We are live for another episode of the Driven Agenda podcast and have another great friend with me here, Duane Meeks. He has a really amazing school academy here in Palm Beach County that caters towards kids who maybe learn differently, whether they're on the spectrum or neurodivergent. That's what he specializes in, and we're going to get into it. I've heard nothing but great things about his academy. I have some friends who have kids who go there. And it's really a little gem here in Palm Beach County, specifically in Green Acres. And I appreciate you coming in and your time coming in here. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So how do we even get involved in starting a school? That wasn't your background, right?
My background originally was media, but I spent a lot of years in higher education at two different universities. And in 1998, our youngest son was four at the time. He was diagnosed with a brain tumor. So he had to take on and off, it's not straight through, but 16 months on and off of chemotherapy. One of the side effects of the chemo cocktail, they call it, is learning challenges. And the genetic condition that created the tumor in the first place is NF1. It also has a marker of having learning challenges. So he was in a number of different schools, public schools and private schools over the years after his chemotherapy ended, and we were increasingly dissatisfied with the education that he was getting. We knew he learned differently. He was not stupid. He could ask some of the most profound questions. You know, I have a PhD, and he would ask questions, and I'm thinking, wow, where did that come from? You know, it's like, I don't even know how to start to answer that question. Right. And so my wife started teaching at a school that he attended, and it closed abruptly in 2009 in April. On the 15th, on tax day, they announced they were not reopening that fall. And my wife, Janice, had parents coming to her with tears in their eyes. What are we going to do? There are no other options for our kids. And we ourselves were in that same boat. What are we going to do? Where is Zach going to get his education? And I don't know if it's stupidity or what. I just said, Jan, you know how to do this. You've had outstanding results as a teacher. You start a school. And first she was like, no way. I mean, there's so much. And I said, just do it. I mean, there are no other options. And miraculously, 4 months later, we had all the permits necessary, and it opened in August of 2009. So we've been there for 17 years. Zach's now graduated, 7 years ago. When that other school closed, he was told by the principal, or my wife was told, send him to this program. And it's basically a make-work program for kids with limited intellectual ability. And Jan was like, no way. There's nothing wrong with that charity, but he has so much more potential. Right. And that's the word that we kept coming up with, potential, hence the name Potentia Academy.
I never thought to ask you that. I don't think I knew that from knowing you, how the name came about.
Yeah, it's Potentia is a Latin declension of the word potential, and we were trying to come up with something that we could trademark and
Right.
and whatnot. So it's Potentia Academy. Every student has the right to meet their full learning potential. And that's the problem we're trying to address. A lot of these neurodivergent kids, they are labeled and they're stereotyped. And people believe that they can accomplish much less than they can actually accomplish. So case in point, Zach the last year he was at Potentia Academy that spring, the night he was going to EMT school. Graduated from EMT school the same May that he graduated from high school. The next December passed his national EMT examination, the national examination that every EMT has to take. Went on to Barry University Fire Academy, graduated from that with a B average. Then most recently this December graduated from paramedic school, and he's studying for his national paramedic exam. So this was a kid that was told to go into this Make Work program. Right. And that's what we're trying to address. What we want for all the students at Potentia is the same advantage that Zach had to reach his full potential.
Nice. I imagine he's probably one of your best success stories for the school.
He is, but he's one of many success stories.
Right.
We've got probably 2/3. It waxes and wanes with each year because you have different interests for students every year. But on average, over the course of the history of the school, about 2/3 of our kids will go on to either college or university.
Nice.
Including FAU. A lot of them dual enroll with Palm Beach State during their last semester at Potentia. Mm-hmm. Lynn University down in Delray. We've our outstanding graduate of 2018 went there. Here's a kid, another success story. He was nonverbal until he was 6. So that automatically stereotyped him, labeled. He was going to be, his parents were told he would be dependent on them their entire lives. And their job was to figure out how to take care of him after they're gone.
Defense instead of offense, so
exactly. And he went to Palm Beach State for 2 years. Each semester was on this president's list. Then transferred to Lynn, graduated summa cum laude. And he told me his GPA, so I did the reverse math, and he got 1 A-. Some professor gave him an A-. So Here's a kid that goes from nonverbal to graduating summa cum laude, and it's just a matter of letting the student tell you how they learn, what's best for them, and not underestimating them.
Versus a statewide set curriculum, you're saying?
With a stamp. This is how you do it.
And there's no deviation.
And we've had public school we've had a number of students that parents are public school teachers.
Right.
They'd see the homework and they'd come back. They'd ask Jan, how did you do this? How did you teach them this math? I want to know for my kids. Jan would tell her, and she goes, but how long did you have to? Oh, Jan says, well, we spent 10 weeks on that. Oh, I'd only have a week.
Right.
And so they have to go through at a certain pace.
Okay.
And that's one of the ingredients, what I call our secret sauce, the recipe for success, so to speak. And that is, at some point, somebody decided for high school, 6 courses a year for 4 years, and then you're done. And you go from August to May or August to June, and summer's off, and that's just the way it is. So why? And so our kids will they'll do Algebra 1 over 3 semesters rather than 2. What's the difference? Well, they learn better at a slower pace, but they master the outcomes of the course. They know. We've had students come to us from other schools having completed Algebra 1 or some other course, and they can't do the next course. So we put them back, and they can't do that. And kids are getting just pushed through the system.
Because they've forgotten it from a while ago, when it was required.
Right. Or they're having to do it so fast that you learn it just enough to take
to get by
the test,
and
then it's gone. Yeah. And there's a difference between learning it and passing a test.
Right.
So,
yeah, you're right about that, because I do think back about all the times that I'm just here at school back in the day I just got to get past that one test.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't remember a lot of that stuff. How do students find you guys? And you're middle school and high school?
Middle school and high school, although we do take 5th, 6th graders.
Okay.
But essentially it's middle school and high school. Our challenge right now is on the property we're on, we're capped, it's 42 students. So we're working to raise money we're a private school, so we don't have some of the resources that, say, a charter school would have in terms of capital financing. But our goal is within the next 5 years to triple up to 135 students at that campus. And then if we need more capacity, we'll duplicate with other campuses rather than growing that campus.
Yeah, you have the land for it now. You just need the extra spaces, right? And the funds, obviously.
Yes, exactly. So
you're always full, I assume, every semester.
Yes. Well, we started off this year full. I mean, we were at the beginning of the year, we were full. Now we've had some students move away, so we've got some openings. Right. But 42, and that's the legal limit we can take.
Is that what you started off with in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, at the beginning of this year, of this academic year.
When you first started, how many students?
A dozen.
Did you guys have?
A dozen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the word just got out. Systems probably got better. Teachers, and then people just start hearing about you.
Yeah, it's mostly word of mouth. We've done very little marketing over the years.
Right.
In fact, I would say out of 17 years and a half of being in existence, probably 14 of those we spent zero on marketing because it was just word of mouth. You know.
Yeah, it's a community, so if people are looking for a certain thing, then the parents probably talk to each other.
Yes, exactly.
Recommendations.
Exactly.
Sometimes the best kind of business to have anyway.
And we also have good relationships with other schools, and so our student profile is level 1 autism, which means intellectually, from a learning point of view, the highest on the spectrum, as well as ADHD, dyslexia, anxiety, either general anxiety or test anxiety, which really affects many students more than people understand. Mm-hmm. They know the material, but when they go to take a test,
that would be me.
They freeze, and they have trouble getting out onto paper or on a computer test what's actually in their head. Right. And that's a recognized learning disability. And so what you'll see is that a lot of students, they have multiple diagnoses. So you can have a student on the spectrum that also has dyslexia or also has test anxiety, etc. But we get referrals from other schools. They have a student that fits our profile, and they can't serve them well, and vice versa. We'll refer students. We don't take a student unless we think we can help them succeed academically. We're a nonprofit. There is nobody's making money at this,
right.
And we do testing on the front end to make sure that student fits the type of student we're trying to serve, and if not, we'll refer them to schools that we know that they'll have a better chance of success at.
I was going to ask that. That was one of my questions: is everyone able to get in? But you have to have some type of testing to at least make sure they're going to be able to fit and thrive.
Right. And then we have the student visit before admission for typically 3 days, because we try to keep the testing as low key as possible. A lot of times they don't even realize that they're taking an admissions test. Mm-hmm. We just want to, we'll say, or the teacher will say, we just want to see what you're doing right now, what kind of work you're doing, and answer some of these questions on the computer. It's very low key. It's a shortened version of the standardized test that we do every year to measure student progress. And it gives us an idea of where they're at. learning-wise, but we recognize there's test anxiety. Some students just don't test well. So then the teachers will observe them in class for 2 or 3 days. They get to, and it's good for the student because they get to meet the other students. They get to say, hey, there are other people exactly like me that are learning exactly like I do, but also the teachers are able to have a second data point that they can triangulate, in terms of deciding whether the student is the right fit for our school.
I assume that your school probably gives these kids a lot more confidence as well than, say, if they're in a larger public school and struggling.
That's our goal, in several ways. It's an intentional goal, for one thing. A lot of kids have been told, and sometimes it's by other kids, sometimes it's by family members that, you can't, you won't, you'll never,
right?
Whatever. Like
so
my
hear
son,
that
like my son, he'll be better off over here,
right?
Separating out beads into different, and now he's a paramedic. So 100% of the kids that have come to our school have experienced some form of bullying in the past. Sometimes physical, sometimes verbal, sometimes both. One of the side effects of bullying is it lowers your self-esteem. Why am I getting picked on? There must be something wrong with me.
Right.
And so a lot of what our teachers do intentionally is to address issues of self-confidence, self-esteem, sense of self-worth. It's intentional. That's another one of those ingredients of that recipe for success that I talked about. Is that we and it goes on. It's not just a one and done thing. It's multiple years, and like with our graduate I told you that went on to Lynn, it took a lot of years of reinforcing in him, you have the ability to do this. You can do this. Oh, I failed this. Don't worry. I know you can do it. The other thing is the philosophy of the school, and we base our hiring of teachers on it, is a belief in two sort of interrelated concepts: a growth mindset and neuroplasticity. Because this is how the student is intellectually right now, doesn't necessarily mean that's how they're always going to be that way. Our friend, our graduate, nonverbal till he was 6. Now, you would think he'd be always nonverbal. Wasn't.
Right.
Unable to do certain things in grades 5, 4, 5, 6, but then the light comes on later on. And so if you don't believe in a growth mindset, if you don't believe in neuroplasticity, you don't plan for it and you don't look for it. You just set a lower threshold of success for the kid.
So I'm thinking in my head while you're saying that, and that neuroplasticity and that confidence and everything, it actually has to start with the parents then. So if you have people like they were telling you about your son, telling you this is probably the limitations of what he's going to have, I'm sure there's a lot of parents that just accept that and then they trap themselves, so to speak, in that bubble. So what would you say to people and parents who are getting that type of advice? Would you recommend that they get a second opinion, or at least try to fight that at first, or what? That's tough.
That's a great question. And you'll see a range of challenges from parents. First of all, and the really tragic one is they tend to blame themselves. My kid is like this because it must be my fault.
Right.
I'm a bad parent. I, smoked something in college,
right.
or I took too much over-the-counter medication during pregnancy, and there's all this guilt that they lay on themselves.
Right. And most of the time, it's probably not even justified. It's
exactly.
just something they think of in their head. Yeah.
And even if they believe it's simply genetics, well, it was my genes.
Right.
It was something I passed on to my kid, either mine or my husband. in which, by the way, we see a lot of broken marriages of kids that are neurodivergent, because it is a huge stressor. Raising a kid on the spectrum or a kid with a learning challenge is a new level of work, but it's also a new level of stressor in the marriage.
I'm sure, because you'll have probably huge differences in how to parent.
Sure.
But then you also have just stress in general, which can make people kind of upset.
And a lot of times, kids will be pegged as being bad. Their behavior is inappropriate and they're being bad. But that behavior is tied to a challenge that nobody else understands. And the child does not have the ability to explain, this is how I'm feeling. I mean, a lot of times kids have to be in motion, though. You'll see a lot of times they'll rock. Or a lot of times you'll see kids on the spectrum with headphones on because the sounds bother them.
Yep.
And so they, when they're young, they may be in a shopping cart in a store, and they're undiagnosed, and they're having a meltdown. And everybody says, oh, that must be a brat. No, that kid's on sensory overload. If they had the right diagnosis in place and the right accommodations, it would be a whole different story. And that leads me to the other thing that parents really have. I've seen, it's not all parents, it's not even the majority, but there are some parents that they're embarrassed by it. And so they don't want anything to be wrong with their child. So they refuse to get the diagnosis. And when they don't get the diagnosis, then they don't have all the resources that are available to them to address it. And
they're burying something that is going to snowball. Yeah,
exactly. It's like your child is neurodivergent. It's not the same thing as your child being, a kleptomaniac or something. Right. I mean, this is nothing to be embarrassed about, but yet there is an intense amount of shame that goes along with it. And you'll see kids, they don't want to be treated any differently. They want to be just like their peers. And so having that label put on them of being neurodivergent, they'll go to college and they won't go get the accommodations that they need to succeed in college because they don't want to be different than anybody else. And my response is, I understand, but you want to be successful. You want to be, I don't just mean academically or financially. You want your life to go well. And unless you get those accommodations, and unless you get those resources that you need that are there to help you, you're not going to achieve that. And you have to have the diagnosis to get it.
Yep.
No one's going to hand it out to you. You're not going to get ADA accommodations anywhere without the diagnosis.
Put the overthinking aside and use the resources that are there for you. And the bottom line is you just need to get a degree.
Yeah. And if somebody doesn't accept you because you have autism, they're not
probably got to reevaluate.
You need a better friend. Yeah. I mean, really.
Yeah.
They should love you because of who you are, and not because of any label put on you. And we all have those. We all carry baggage, and if somebody doesn't, ultimately, if they don't like you, then they don't like you.
Yeah, I mean, as I get older, there's always one or two people who kind of, my circle gets smaller, and they're maybe an acquaintance as opposed to a good friend, and that's just happens as we get older.
But it's tough when you're a teenager, right?
Yes, because you want to please everyone, you want to say yes to everyone, and then now, as I get older, it's the reverse. Like, what value do you provide to me? I'm not looking as a taker, but what value am I getting out of this friendship when I have a busy job, I have young kids, I have lots of things going on.
They call it, and this is something parents really need to think through. Imagine everybody had peer pressure when they were a teenager, right? Everybody does. I heard this lady, she turned 100, and they asked her, what's the best thing about being 100? She says, no peer pressure.
Yeah.
But when you're a teenager, there's just a huge amount of Now imagine what everybody experiences and you're neurodivergent.
Right.
And it layers a whole new level on that. you know, it's something that parents need to help their child work through. And you'll get people making, every teenager makes I made stupid decisions when I was, you know, it's like when you ask your teenager, what were you thinking? Well, probably they weren't. Well, the same thing was a kid on the spectrum,
Right.
you know. It is a challenge. Everybody wants to fit in, and they call it, when you have like autism, a diagnosis like autism, and you pretend you don't because you want to fit in, you want to be just like everybody else, they call that masking. And everybody that I know that has come to terms with their neurodivergence has said masking is exhausting.
I'm sure
Because
it
you're
is.
putting on you're putting on a show all the time.
You're covering up your true personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's got to be tiring and wearing.
Yeah, if your natural inclination is to rock and you're having to constantly think, I can't rock, they'll think I'm weird. I can't rock.
Interesting.
You know,
And
it's
takes up
exhausting.
more.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's talk really quick business wise, because I like to talk about business and entrepreneurs. What was the hardest thing to get this up and running? Was it the research you need, hiring teachers, finances, combination of everything? What did you find that was probably the toughest thing you had to overcome?
Well, finances for a nonprofit are always a challenge. And it doesn't necessarily, I'm not necessarily talking about our school. It's just in general, it's a challenge. Nonprofits, when they're evaluated, they are dinged if they pay top dollar for talent, if they go into debt to expand, or if they spend much money promoting and marketing, those three things, which is what every business has to do to succeed.
Right. Nonprofit or not, you still have to.
Yeah, but nonprofits all have that challenge. If your 990 return shows that you're spending a ton of money on marketing, or if you're paying people more than the average, you get dinged. And so, apart from money, the biggest challenge is hiring, and this is a nationwide challenge right now, hiring qualified teachers that also have the empathy to serve our students, because it requires as much or more patience than any other kind of teenager.
Right.
And there's a national teacher shortage right now. It was already happening, and then COVID accelerated it. And relatively speaking, teachers are underpaid compared to other occupations.
I agree with that.
And they're told, well, you got
3 months off.
Yeah, you got July, June, and part of August off. There's your yeah. But you're also, during that time, you're having to think about curriculum. How do I do my professional development? It's not an easy profession. And teachers, the good ones will be grading at night after work, off the clock. They will be thinking on the weekend about projects and how can I transform this lesson into something that they'll get? How do I engage my students better? These are they're always on. And what I've discovered is I've had interactions with teachers that have master's degrees in special education, but they didn't have the empathy for the student. And so when I find a great teacher, I want to figure out how can I pay them, what they're really worth.
They had the degree on paper, but not the street experience, so to speak.
Yeah, and also, you've got to love the people that you're serving. It's a form of service.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the patience level and I can say this, I'm not a classroom teacher. I'm an administrator. I was a classroom teacher at the university level. I can't do what our teachers do. I can't do what my wife does, because we intentionally keep our classes as small as possible. So some of our remedial classes where we're trying to bring students up to grade level, because most of the time they're coming to us below grade level, especially in mathematics and reading competency. And if you're poor in reading, you're going to do poor in every subject.
Right.
So some of those classes will be as small as 5 students, sometimes 4 or 5 students. But again, another part of the secret sauce, the recipe for success here, is figuring out what that particular student, not the class as a whole, but that particular student needs to
what they need and how they need to learn.
So you might have 5 people in your class, and it seems like a really small class, but you're having to gear your engagement with those students in 5 unique ways.
Right.
With sometimes students that are having trouble coping because sometimes it's just the stimulation, the other students, the environment.
Right.
They've got the headphones on and they're still cupping their ears. They're just trying. And so if you're struggling with your environment, how are you engaged in learning? So the teachers that are successful in this area have just almost saintly patience, and you can't put a monetary price tag on that. If you find one, you got to figure out, what can I do to nurture this person so they'll never want to leave us, because it's such a rare resource. But in economics, normally rare resources are priced high, but not in teaching. If you find that sort of teaching gold, you can't typically pay them what they're worth.
Right.
For numerous reasons, partly because you're a nonprofit, but it's true in the school district. The school district has the same challenges, but in other ways,
I saw a news article that I think Palm Beach County is down 150 teachers, I think.
I know that they've been struggling, and they've been, I don't know what it's like this year, but I know in last year they were pulling administrators out of administrative positions and putting them in the classroom.
Wow.
There's a shortage, but it's not because Palm Beach County is a bad place to work. It's because there is a national teacher shortage.
Yeah. And we're like the second most popular state to move to as well. So I'm sure you've got that influx of more people. I know you're a private school, but you do give away scholarships, I think. Do you?
Yes. Well, the good news about Florida is if you're neurodivergent, if the student's neurodivergent, they'll qualify for a scholarship, and the actual enrollment period for next academic year started on February 1st. So I would encourage any parent, if you don't know about it, research the Family Empowerment Scholarship for students with unique abilities. Now is the time to apply for next year. And the value of that scholarship depends upon a number of factors, including various academic needs that the student might have, and what their diagnosis is and the amount of services they would need. But you're typically going to get a minimum of just under $10,000.
Okay.
So for us, we intentionally keep our tuition low. It's lower than it costs us per student. So our tuition is $15,000 a year. Our cost of education per student is $22,000 a year. But if we charge $22,000, we would lose all our students that have limited financial means. We would just be a school of rich kids, and that's just against everything I believe in.
Yep.
I mean, it would be good financially for us, but not good for the students.
For your purpose, the
right
reason you set out to do this.
So, but if a family is going to get just under $10,000, there's a delta of $5,000 left that they still got to pay for. some middle-class families, it's not. And it's spread over 10 months. So it's, it's like another car payment.
Right.
Maybe they can handle it. But we've got about half of our students, or more than half of our students, qualify as Title I. That means they live in zip codes or neighborhoods that are the federal government defines as being eligible for extra assistance, which tells us the economic ability of about half of our students is very limited.
Okay.
So we've got a number of families, single moms or single parents trying to raise the family, trying to raise a family of, say, 3. I'm thinking about specifics. So it's 3 students, one of which is needs our services. So they're having to, arrange for transportation.
Juggle different schools.
Yeah, and it's, in one case I know of a parent that's struggling health-wise. We've had multiple instances over time of grandparents raising their raising these kids. Parents are, either in recovery somewhere or something like that. It's just tough. So, for those families that need it, we have a scholarship fund called the Achiever Scholarship Fund, and we then underwrite through that fund part of their education, so that we want parents to try to pay something towards the education. It just gives you
a little bit of skin in the game.
Yeah, a little bit, but not so much that it prevents them from, we don't want to lose the student over the dollars. So every year we work to raise the money. We're already philanthropy pays for that $7,000, but the difference between the 22 of the cost of education and the 15, which is our tuition. So it's 7,000 times the number of students. We're already raising that money philanthropy-wise. Now we're having to figure out how to raise the extra money for that scholarship fund. It's not endowed, so it's not like we're living off the interest like a university would in their endowment. So every year we raise money for that. And we've had some great community partners, corporations that have helped us out, generous donors that have helped us out. All of our board members are very generous in helping us. So,
we talked briefly about the future. You want to get up to a certain amount of students on that piece of property. That's going to require some fundraising and earning money down the road. But let's say 10 years down the road, do you want to have other locations, you were saying?
Yes. And I believe that location, once we have the facility in place, that location is going to cap out pretty quickly at 135. Partly because we have a unique transitions program called CREST, CCREST, College and Careers Readiness Education for Students in Transition. So if a student's going to college, part of that CREST program is to prepare them academically for college. If they're going into a career or taking an internship and then going into a career or going to vocational school, it includes things like digital literacy, financial literacy, interviewing skills, which can be very challenging for somebody on the spectrum, and living skills. And so we plan to build 2 buildings. A second building would house that CREST program, and the second floor of that building would be something similar to a dorm, a college dorm, so that their last year at Potentia, the students, if the parents want, could elect to live in that for 10 months, and only 10 months. It's not like a group home.
Yeah.
To prepare them for what it would be like if they would have to go to college and live in a dorm and have a roommate. See, that change in routine for somebody on the spectrum to go to college, out of town.
Slow transition.
Yeah.
So still have familiarity and family and whatnot.
Family's just a drive away. They're still on the counter.
At night, I got to make dinner. I
Right.
gotta clean. I got to study.
Well, the idea is they learned how to budget, shop, prepare their own meals, clean.
Most people I know still can't do that.
Hygiene, and over that 10 months, they're demonstrating independence.
Right.
And so when they graduate, whether they're going on to college, whether they're going on to vocational school or directly into a career, parents can be confident if they're not driving that they know how to use public transportation. If they're independent, because that's what it's the great leveler. I don't care what religion, what ethnicity, race, socioeconomic class. Every parent, I don't care where they come from, what they want to know is my kid going to be all right when I'm gone?
Right.
Are they going to be able to live independently? Are they going to be able to not be in poverty, take care of themselves, not be taken advantage of by somebody?
Mm-hmm.
And that independent living is what that CREST program is all about. So I believe when we have the capacity to expand, it's going to fill quickly.
That's cool.
And then one of our markers, another recipe for success, another ingredient in that recipe for success is we want our administrator, like our principal, who in this case is my wife, to know every student by name in that school and something about their diagnosis and something about their needs or their accommodations to address that diagnosis. If you get too big, where the administrators don't know the
specifics of each person,
then we're too big.
Right.
So I'd rather have 5 schools of 150 than 1 school of 750. Right. It's more economical, economy of scale, have a bigger school. But that's they're in big schools before they come to us, and they're failing because they're just, they're just another hole in the ceiling. They're just they don't. Nobody knows them. They're lost in the shuffle, and that's what we're trying to avoid and trying to address.
Let's talk about your event coming up. So I wanted to get you in here as well ahead of time so we can see if we can get. Is it sold out?
No, it's not sold out. But
you've got heavy amount of sales.
We're running ahead of last year, which is good. So it's called Love the Wine You're With. That was last year. This year we're adding bourbon, so it's 21 and above. This is not for the students. This is for their parents and adults that want to, help our students. So every ticket, it's $200 for a wine and or bourbon pairing. So you buy a wine ticket or a bourbon pairing ticket, and it's paired over. There's hors d'oeuvres with cocktails to start with, and there's 4 courses. And each course has a curated pairing by a sommelier that is either pairing that course with a sample from a wine or from a bourbon. This year we had a different vineyard or vintner last year, but this year it's the Deutsch family of wines and spirits. And for that $200 ticket, roughly $100 goes to the school. The other $100 is the cost of the meal and the alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, it's full meal. You have a band, I believe, live entertainment.
The Leafy Greens band, which is a local favorite, and
it's at the Kennel Club, which is a nice, really nice venue.
Yes, Palm Beach Kennel Club is at the Paddock restaurant. We have the restaurant for the night. It's ours. It starts at 6:30 with appetizers and cocktails, bellinis.
February 27th.
February 27th. So it's a week from.
Well, over a week from now. I'm gonna get this out as soon as I can. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're honoring a gentleman who's now on our board. His name is Mark Pintel, who's been an advocate for people on the spectrum. Very successful himself. He's got a business degree and a social work degree, and was diagnosed later on in life as being autistic. He didn't know it when he was growing up. He's got a son on the spectrum, and he's been just a marvelous advocate for neurodivergent people. And so it's going to be a fun evening. There's a 50-50 raffle. There's a raffle for or a auction for a 4-hour boat trip. Our friend Mark Linsky that we know as he's one of the sponsors of the event. He's the bourbon sponsor. So his
nice.
company, L3 Family Wealth Partners, is the bourbon sponsor. And Mark has a friend that's got a nice big boat, and they're stocking it with food.
Oh, wow.
And drinks. And so the winner of the auction will get a 4-hour half-day trip on this guy's really nice boat. So
I've heard nothing but great things about your event. I've known you for a little over a year now, and when I first met you, you were putting the event on, and I forget where I was out of town and could not make it, but everyone said they had a blast. Everyone says it's just a really nice kind of like gala type event that's put on very well, and I'm excited. My wife and I are excited to go.
I'm very grateful that the dash cam lawyer, you're the valet sponsor, so people will valet park for free right up. They don't have to walk, across the parking lot. Yeah, and it's thanks to dash cam lawyer, and I should add, if it's open to people that are that don't drink alcohol, so if the bar will craft, if we know ahead of time that you prefer not to drink wine or bourbon, they're going to craft some mocktails. Yeah. Because we have friends that want to support, but they just don't.
Yeah,
they don't drink.
I actually. I always start the year off and I don't drink for a while, just to clean out and get refreshed. And all that
Detox
stuff.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my goal this year was to May, which would be my wife's birthday. But I had said 4 months ago, the only time I'm having a drink is February 27th.
Oh,
so I'm looking forward to the bourbon part, my wife, the wine part. And again, I know it's from what everyone said in our group that we belong to. Everyone just said it's a great time, and I can't wait. It's actually not that far away now.
Yeah. And boy, so much. You on an event like this, you see what the real quality of people, of how they care about their community. Because you can go anywhere to spend your money on a Friday night for a decent meal.
I was going to say,
so it's
yes,
but this is they're giving back,
and people are returning to this event every year because of how well it's put on and because of the good cause. It's such a good cause.
And last year we met our scholarship goal, and we funded. We funded 3 students, 3 low-income students stayed in school because of that. Those people that showed up, bought tickets, enjoyed the music. We have a wine pool that the wine's in a canvas bag, so you just pay your money and you get what you get. And so it could be a $50 bottle,
Yeah.
it could be a $15 bottle,
that's cool.
but it's for charity, and those kids stayed in school because of that. And we're working to triple that this year. In other words, I want what we're looking for is to keep 9, maybe 10 students in school, and we're looking to keep that. We're on track.
Okay.
We're on track.
Want to start wrapping up here, but that reminds me, you had mentioned to us before the economic impact of a child who is able to graduate and be fully functional. Can you talk about that really quick?
Sure. So I look at it this way. There's 3 reasons why we should be doing what we're doing. One is altruistic, and it's because it's the right thing to do. These kids have dreams just like everybody else. You go in any class, what do you want to do, for a career? No one says, I want to stay home and draw Social Security disability. I mean, they have dreams, right? And I don't care what religion, every religion speaks to this. We're supposed to help the less fortunate. So there's the altruistic reason, but there's 2 very important, sort of, if you will, selfish reasons why we should be doing this. One, these kids think outside the box. Neurodivergent people, by definition, think differently. And by the way, that thinking is not being captured in AI, because all the AI training is happening on people that are neurotypical. So they see problems different, and they will come to solutions differently. They'll ask, like, as I said at the beginning, profoundly different questions that we never think about. Oh, I never thought to frame it that way. And ironically, a lot of the steps forward technologically and scientifically are from people that are, if not, we know they're on the spectrum, we're probably on the spectrum. Some of them are self-admitted. Some of them think
Elon Musk is
Elon
one.
Musk, Bill Gates, and it's not just scientific people, it's actors and artists and whatnot. But they look at the problem differently, and so they get a different and sometimes uniquely successful solution to that problem. And so who knows, in 10 years, I might be suffering from some disease that somebody that's neurodivergent figured out the cure for because they literally thought differently.
Right.
Okay. But also from an economic point of view for society. So, the actual number depends on how long you think somebody's going to live. And part of the problem is the government doesn't collect data in a nice way for our population. So they'll lump everybody, whether you have a physical disability, blindness, paraplegic, or a neurodivergent challenge, all in the same ADA basket. So it's very hard to figure out unemployment rates, for example, life expectancy rates. But if a neurodivergent person lives an average life and they don't get a high school education and they don't get a meaningful employment, they're going to be living on Social Security disability their entire lives. And they're going to be collecting food stamps, SNAP benefits, and they're going to be on Medicaid. And on an average lifespan, if you lump all that together, unadjusted for inflation, you're talking $2.5 million on the taxpayer per person. And these people are still living in poverty because the Social Security disability is like $20-something thousand a year. It's enough to be miserable on.
Yep.
You can't thrive on it. So they're living a horrible life. They're not contributing. They're not meeting their dreams, which is part of that horrible life. In other words, they have these aspirations that are unmet. We all have aspirations. Imagine if you weren't allowed to do it because you thought and talked and learned differently. Versus giving somebody the education, giving them a shot at achieving their dreams. Well, they might not, but at least they ought to be given a shot, and letting them be contributing taxpayers.
Right.
And what's the difference for after the state scholarships in Florida, for $70,000 we can give somebody a high school education that gives them a shot at that, versus $2.5 million unadjusted for inflation. 50 years from now, when they're still alive, I mean, think about it. It's somebody that's neurodivergent that's 10 years old today is going to be living at the turn of the 22nd century. So we don't know what it's really going to be costing to support them, and we have no idea. But we know that it's going to be something, and we're denying ourselves of all the benefits of the things that these people can contribute. Works of art. Daryl Hannah on the spectrum. When she was young, her parents were told to institutionalize her. Instead, her parents found her a different school. And, think about how she's contributing to the arts over the years. I mean, it's story after story like that. And so we really owe it to ourselves. We owe it to the kids. We owe it to ourselves. We're going to pay one more or the other. And I think it just makes more sense to pay on the front end a lot less money. And you're going to feel a heck of a lot better about it because you're going to watch somebody flourish. You're going to know, hey, I helped that kid get through
I'm
school.
responsible, partly responsible for that.
Yeah.
For the
It's an
success.
amazing feeling.
Well, I commend what you do. You said you have some openings currently. If anyone watching was
if
interested.
we'll take transfer students right now. We've had a couple of students move in-state out of the county, and we've had one student just last week move to Nevada. So because of that migration, we have some openings, and we can take some students. Yes.
All right. And how can people find you if they're interested, if they have questions about your school or have a child that might be qualified, or if, say, they're in another state and they want to build something kind of like yours to help out their community?
Sure. If somebody wants to do something like this in another state, I'll be glad to share with them anything I can, because it's only going to be a good thing. But our website, www.potentiaacademy.org, because we're a nonprofit, and it has all the contact information on there. Our local landline phone numbers 561-433-5557. But if you hit the website, you can also send us a message on an email message through the website, and we'll be glad to. And even if if somebody just has some questions about what the options are, I'm glad to help them out, even if they don't end up coming.
You and your wife are super passionate about this, and I know that you're always available to talk to anyone about this and how important it is to you, and again, important to our community. So again, I commend what you and your wife and the teachers and the parents are all doing. It's a big deal. I knew nothing about Potentia when I first met you, and then as we meet each other every week, that's why I wanted to have you on. I just think people need to know about this here, especially in Palm Beach County.
I appreciate giving me the platform to talk about something I care about. So I really am grateful to you. Thank you, Shannon.
Absolutely. And for my friends, anyone watching, if it's before February 27th, please go grab a ticket. Take your spouse, your significant other out for a really nice event. We'll all be there. There'll be a bunch of people, and this will be my first experience, but I've been waiting for this literally for months because I've heard nothing but wonderful things about it. So get yourself a ticket. You'll have a ton of fun, more fun than anywhere else you're going to be going that night, and it's going towards a very, very good cause.
Thank you.
Awesome.